I really had no business being where I was. I think you can call it fate or God or whatever you want, but I can't count on both my hands the irregularities that put me in that position. When a call for service came out for an act of deadly aggression at a school, I immediately turned on my lights and sirens, knowing the severity of such a call. Like Sergeant said, it demands ample resources, in which I was available. Like I said, I was tending to myself. I've been to, I don't know how many false act of deadly aggression calls. Something told me it was time to really get to this one. When I arrived, I don't know the layout of the school. Luckily, due to the bravery of 2 staff members, they stayed on scene, they didn't run, and they gave me concise, clear information for me to use to help anyone in danger. Gentleman gave me, like he said, the exact key I needed to enter the building. It was readily apparent I was going to be the one to make entry, and I've been given my training. I know my role, and I made entry with the personnel I had, and luckily I had some. I saw there were patrol units, and I asked for people to join me as I had a key. I was unaware there were any other access points other than the one I had.
Not knowing what I was walking into, I went through that door with purpose. I knew the gravity of the situation and what had occurred based on the call text, the amount of callers, and it was a serious incident. Like Chief Drake said, our training is to follow stimulus when we enter these buildings for these active shooter situations. At that time, we did not have any. Our training then is to do a systematic room-by-room clearing, which is what myself and Officer Engelbert did. We just heard the sounds. From my training and experience, I knew those sounds to be rifle rounds that were being fired based on what it was. We proceeded up the stairs. Once we got to the stairs, we got to a second-floor hallway. Once in that hallway, the smell of gunpowder was in the air. It was also very smoky. Obvious that there had been fire in that area very quickly. Doing what our training tells us to do in those situations and following the stimulus, all of us stepped over a victim. I, to this day, don't know how I did that morally, but training is what kicked in. We then proceeded continually to the sounds of gunfire.
It was somewhere right around that point we heard another shot, and so it told us that the shooter was to our right. That's when I made the call and yelled that the shooter was right, and we pushed right and continued down that hallway. Officer Rex had caught up to us. I noticed that Officer Rex had a rifle with a LPVO on it. Not knowing where the shooter was and the distance that we would possibly encounter with the shooter, asked Officer Rex to push forward for us, which he did without hesitation. We continued down that path until we encountered the shooter.
I definitely wish I had also deployed my rifle caliber rated heavy plates when I found myself at the front of the stack, where I found the stimulus or the threat, the second floor of the school.
The shooter was neutralized.
We didn't know if there was another threat. Immediately took teammates I am not used to working with to start clearing rooms, escorting children and teachers along.
It had been broadcasted that the shooter had been taken down, and I think it clicked for every officer that was on scene. At that point, it was time to start trying to render aid to the victims. and start evacuating the school. So we implemented our rescue task force protocol